Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Talia, the Classroom Doc. I'm very excited today because this is fascinating. Whatever you think about salt right now, I assure you this is going to turn upside down everything you ever thought and rock your salt world. In fact, you'll be so excited that just like me after a book I read, you're going to run out and buy some salt and vinegar chips. But let me first tell you, so I know you've read my entire book front to back, The Confident Food Shopper, and in there I did allude to the fact that we may not be entirely on point when it comes to our views about salt. Certainly is controversial. So let me start by saying the book I read yesterday is called The Salt Fix. It's written by Dr. James Nicolantonio, and he's a leading cardiovascular research scientist. You can pick it up at Indigo. Okay, I more like skimmed through it, but I picked up the gist and some important points, which confirmed what I already thought, and what's really is the case when it comes to most nutritional sciences. We always think we know so much, and we always discover that we were wrong later on, and it's not because we're stupid, it's just because it's very complicated. Anyway, won't get into that, but let me just jump right in and tell you some amazing things about salt, and stay till the end because I'm going to make some recommendations in terms of what salts that you might buy at home and that you should eat. So first thing to say is salt is different than other flavorings in our food. We need salt. Bodies can't live without it. We need it on a cellular level. We'll die without it. So we can never argue that salt is bad. What is controversial is how much do we need, and can it be problematic if we have too much? And how much is that too much? So Health Canada says we need 1,500 milligrams a day, and that's it, no more than that. But Dr. James says 3 to 4 grams a day. Whoa, that's over double what Health Canada recommends. So what's going on? Now, he's done a lot of research, and he's looked back at a lot of assumptions we made, and in his book he goes and he dispels many of them, looks at old studies, and even says that our assumptions that our ancestors ate a lot less are wrong. So I'm going to give you just one cool example, which is the Korean paradox. In Korea, they eat tons of salt. They eat something called kimchi every day, which is delicious, by the way, and very salty. And yet, they don't have high levels of high blood pressure. So that's just one example, but he gives many. So what he says is, for the average person, when we eat, say, what we would consider excessive amounts of salt over the recommended amounts, this does not really have much of an effect, usually no effect on the blood pressure, and only a marginal effect for a small amount of people, say 20% of the healthy population. And even for those who have very high blood pressure, he says, even for those people, there's only around 50% of them that are sensitive to salt, and even then, it only marginally raises their blood pressure. In fact, he says that if we eat too little salt, our body goes into a state of kind of an emergency state, and that can actually cause our blood pressure to go up. So that's sort of the opposite of what you might think. He talks about, which is very interesting, if we don't eat enough salt, we experience a state, he calls it internal starvation. Internal starvation. So what happens when we don't have enough salt? So the one thing is, our salt is too low. This causes a reaction, an emergency reaction in our body that includes the increase of insulin levels in our body. Insulin, you may remember, is associated with diabetes. If you have chronically high insulin levels, you get insulin resistance, and this can result in diabetes. But it's also related to sugar cravings. So think about that. Low salt intake may be related to sugar cravings, and therefore eating more salt may help with sugar cravings. Something you can try out, let me know. And he also talks about, so people with high blood pressure, if you're told you have high blood pressure but there's no known cause, so he relates this more so not to high salt intake but to insulin resistance. So again, relating back to the potential state of low salt and sugar cravings. So it was a really fascinating book. If you are on a low salt diet or just sort of really paranoid or afraid about salt, I highly recommend that you read this book front to back. It's very interesting. Salt. Okay, so what types of salt that you want to eat? So he talked about the various salts that you can get typically in the health food store. He does not recommend, which is great. I agree with table salt, because ordinary table salt is highly processed. It's just sodium chloride, and all the natural trace minerals have been removed, so you lose out on a lot. And plus chemicals are added, what we call anti-caking agents that prevent the salt from sticking. So you want to avoid that. The health food stores carry a variety of natural salts, and he did some comparisons of them. So one of them is Himalayan salt, which is very popular. It has something like 80 plus trace minerals in it, which is great, all in low levels, and that's a popular salt, although it is expensive. But the one that he highlighted that he uses, which I ran out and got, and I was familiar with it, is this brand. So this is Redmond is the brand. And the reason he recommended Redmond is because of all the natural salts. It's actually quite high in iodine. So we don't add iodine to natural salts. And one of the drawbacks of natural salts is you don't get the higher amounts of iodine you get in the commercial salts. And many people may be deficient in iodine. A lot of people buying iodine as a supplement, or if they have thyroid issues, are questioning whether they need iodine. So this could be a great salt for daily use if you want some more iodine. And I think I'm going to probably switch to this one, or sort of use a bit of both. All right, I hope you found that fascinating. Please like my video below, subscribe to my channel, share it below on your Twitter and Facebook and elsewhere. And if you want to know more about ingredients as a whole, not just salt, but all of them, my book, I guarantee you, is a fascinating read. It's The Confident Food Shopper, The Guide to Food Labels and Fables. You can find it on Amazon and at a number of bookstores in Toronto. Thank you for listening, and see you next time. Bye.